So in most of my previous videos, we're usually talking about axes or something axe related. But long before I got into axes, I was into knives. And the biggest collection of specific brand, I guess, really the only brand that I kind of collected, is Becker, produced by K-Bar, in Olean, New York. Which is pretty cool. Not too. I mean, it's in my state, so one of the kind of neat things about it. And this is, I think, I may have one or two knives stashed someplace else that I've forgotten about, but I think this is in the entirety of my. This is the entirety of my Becker collection. You see, we got some smaller stuff, we've got some bigger stuff, some stuff in between. So it kind of ranges everywhere. But I really like these knives. I really do. I don't use them as much as I used to. I used to get out in the woods a lot more. But with having two young children, it's getting a little harder. But as they get older, it's going to start getting easier. But the first Becker knife that I picked up, which I feel like is a lot of people's gateway Becker, is the BK2. It is really just a tank of a knife. You'll hear this one's kind of modified a bit by me. I kind of took the slope off on that Saber grind to kind of make it a little bit slicier, because one of the pluses and downsides to this knife is it is a 1/4 inch thick, or just under. So it is beefy. Super heavy duty. This is one of the older models where the logo is roll stamped in. I kind of prefer that, honestly, but I think they were having some issues with it, warping blades and whatnot, and everything's laser etched now. So, but this is one of the older versions, which is kind of cool. It's a really comfortable knife, and what drew me into it was the shape of the handle. It is just super, super comfortable. It was probably 10, 15 years ago that I saw the first review of this knife on YouTube. And I was like, oh man, that's like the perfect do everything knife. And going under that logic, nothing's out of there perfect do everything. And being the collector and liking sharp things, if you haven't guessed, I found justifications to buy more, kind of like with axes. I think the next one that I got was, I'm trying to think back, it was either the BK11, which was this little guy. This is the Becker Necker. BK11, again, this is one of the older roll stamped ones. It's got this, the skeleton handle, but it's got a bottle opener built into it, which is pretty cool. Handy if you're hanging out, having a few. I like this, it was comfortable, but in a lot of the reviews they had said that, not reviews, but in the literature and reading all the stuff on the forums, Ethan Becker collaborated with Essie, and made the BK14. So they took the Zula's handle and married it with the BK11's blade, and I really like the blade geometry on this. I kind of modified this one. This is a BK14 that I had kind of modified to look more like a Zula. I think that's the name of it. It's been a long time since I've kind of talked about knives, so this is one that I had modified myself. This blade started off looking just like that, so I took some of that sweep out, or I added more of a sweep into that drop point. I put a false swedge on it, so I liked it. I like how this mod came out. I do want to put different handles on it eventually. These are just a set of some walnut ones that I made with a lifetime ago. Those were bright copper liners, but now they're a little dulled. Handle's still comfortable, but yeah. That was, I think that was the second or third one I got. I don't remember. And then I I like using this. I like using it outdoors. I like using it for kind of clearing trails out in the woods. But I read that this was an even better chopper. I wonder why. It's a lot longer. This is the BK9. I believe it's also called the Becker Bowie. Again, with that really comfortable full-size Becker handle. A lot of these knives, they've been sitting on the garage. They need some attention and love. They've been a bit forgotten about. I think I've showed that in some of the other videos, but yeah, they need some attention. They deserve it. There's some little bit of surface rust in some places, and they could use some going through and cleaning up, which is a good winter project, right? But yeah, this is the BK9. I really love this knife. It is, if you like big knives, this is one that I would heavily suggest you considering. It's not as thick as the BK2, but it's not thin either. It's still a sizable knife. BK9, because I believe the blade is 9 inches long. Looks like it's actually just a hair over. It's like 9 1/4. It's got the clip point, but it's a stubby clip point. It's not too elongated like the BK7, which I don't have. I think that's the Combat Bowie. I can't remember. Can't remember like the names for them, but the numbers are a little easier to stick in my mind. But again, another older roll stamped version. This is one that I had modified where they come with a thumb ramp right here. And I had removed the thumb ramp, add a little bit of jimping in with a old chainsaw file, just because I wasn't a big fan of how the thumb ramp looked. I like the rampless version better, so that's what I made it. And it's got a set of aftermarket micarta scales. I really like the micarta scales. They feel great and really change the whole feel of the knife. It feels very high end with it. I actually got them on this this knife also. This is the I haven't used this one much. Clearly it's the factory edge still. It's the Reinhardt Bowie. Also known as BK21. I can't remember exactly the order that I got them all in, but I think this was newer. In this model here is the mini Magnum Camp, I believe, or the BK15. This is one of the mid-size ones in their line, and the mid-size handles are really comfortable too. A bit thinner. When you add the aftermarket micarta, it adds just a little bit of thickness, and I think that's where that handle's perfect. This one here is the BK16. This is the one that I use for hunting when I go out. Which that's also been a while, but again, we'll get back into it. This one's needing a little bit more of attention. You can see it's kind of dusty and got some surface rust on the edge. Blade needs just general cleaning. Throw some stainless hardware in there too, but yeah. So they're all needing a little bit of attention, and that's needing some edge derusting and some sharpening and cleaning. These are the sheaths that the mid-size ones come in. On the forums and community, we called them tweeners because they were in between the necker-sized ones and the full-sized ones. I don't know if that was ever actually officially named, but that was kind of the nicknames they were given. They're the ones all in this this size range. I believe it's the BK17 is the clip point. I never picked up that one because I wasn't in this size knives. Size of knife, I'm usually more a fan of a drop point than a clip point. So, and that's exactly what this is. It's essentially the Becker Necker blade, just elongated. And I really like the cutting geometry and how well these ones perform. And this one you get just a little bit more reach, so it's a little handier for some outdoor tasks. And then probably my most carried and most used one is this little run right here. I've shown it in videos before. Again, it needs a little love and attention too. But this is the BK-24. So it is essentially the same model as this guy, which had started off with a blade like this. So it's the same handle. So you can see that rounded handle. But this one has a more stock blade, not fully stock. Because again, this one had the exact same blade style as this one. It's subtle, but I have an issue with with modifying things. I can't kind of leave things alone. But I always felt like this blade style has just a little bit of a bump here. And when you're kind of holding it and doing tasks like this, I don't know, I just feel it's a little bit more ergonomic to have that bump gone. So that's exactly what I did. I just ground it down a little bit on the belt sander, keeping it cool. And I really, really love this knife. I used a set of the mid-size handles and modified them. So it wasn't anything too crazy of a modification. You can see here, fits right about like that. So you lop a little bit off the top, lop a little bit off the bottom, and it fits on this handle really nice. And you get that kind of Coke bottle shape that makes the knife feel so comfortable. And if you drill a little hole or file a little hole in the scales, you can kind of expose that big thumb or finger loop on the back of that tang, and you can make a little hidden lanyard tang hole, I guess, lanyard hole. So yeah, again, this is my favorite, one of my favorite. It's hard to compare, which is your favorite. You're going to use these two knives for completely different things. You know what I mean? So how do you pick one? If you're a big knife person, you're probably gonna like that one. If you like a smaller belt knife, you'll probably pick that one. But for the most day-to-day tasks, or even just around the shop and stuff like that, this one usually hangs out on the back of the bench. If you guys haven't noticed it sitting there on the kind of the French cleat wall. And this is a sheath that I made for it out of some leather. I wet formed it and kind of a deep carry. So yeah, and you get this size knife is still very capable. You could still easily process a deer with you'll just field dress a deer with a knife this size. So how many deer are processed with a traditional old buck 110, right? Like that blade's probably a similar length to this. So it's still very capable. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but this is the BK-24, which is the iteration of the BK-14, but is in D2 tool steel. So D2, I know a lot of makers have used it before. This is the only knife. I think it's the only knife. No, it's the only knife I've actually used in D2, and I was really happy. Am really happy with how the D2 performs. I believe it's a semi-stainless, and it holds a really nice edge. Again, semi-stainless, so it's not gonna completely be rust-free, but considering how exposed it's been and sitting on the back of the bench and all the stuff I do on this bench, I think it's holding up pretty well. I do want to replace the hardware with it with some stainless just to help prevent it from rusting. But yeah, that's one of the favorites. We'll give you a little closer look at the Reinhardt Kukri. That thing is just made for chopping and slicing. The blades, I think it's about the same thickness as maybe a hair thinner as the BK9, but again, you've got a bit longer in length and that weight forward. Yeah, this is a big knife. This is a giant knife. I just thought this one was so cool. I don't really have much of a need for a Kukri, but don't have much of a need for half of these. I just like them. I like the grind on it. Super cool. I like the look of it with the micarta handles. This one obviously hasn't gotten nearly any use, so the handles aren't worn down. This set looked exactly like this when I first got them, and then through use and dirt and sweat and blood and everything else has gotten on this on this handle, that's what caused them to kind of patina and age and polish with just heavy use. I really dig the look of the hand-worn handle on it too. Big fan of micarta. What ones haven't I talked about yet? This one, I talked about it a little bit, but the BK-15, I really like this as kind of like a outdoorsy kitchen type knife. When you're smoking at the barbecue or the grill, stuff like that, this is super slicey. But the geometry of it makes it just perform really well, just in general, but really excels at like camp tasks. I'm not usually a fan of the finger choil up front like this, but I don't really use it on this, so I grip it back there and it doesn't really seem to hinder it. I probably, if I were designing it, I probably would have just given a little more usable edge, but I believe this was the Magnum Camp, the full-size one, which I didn't pick up when it was available. I think it was like a 7-inch blade, 9-inch blade, the big one. What I believe was a collaboration between Jerry Fisk and Ethan Becker, and then they shrunk it down for the BK-15. And that was the BK-5, that was the larger one. The BK-5, that was a larger one, I believe. I really wish I'd have picked one of those up when they were available, especially when they were just freshly discontinued and they were dirt cheap considering, but live and learn. It's not going to have enough things to cut things, so I will survive. But it would have been cool to have one of those. What ones haven't I talked about? This one might be catching your eyes. If you're a Becker person and you already know a lot of these knives and are familiar with them, this might be one that you're like, hey, what's that one? A Saber ground BK-16. Yep. This is one of the first production run BK-16s that was first released as this line was done. It was a Smoky Mountain Knife Works exclusive. I believe, if memory serves me right, K-Bar had started just transitioning to the new machining and tooling right as they were coming out with the new line of knives. And they had done a first batch with the old methods, which were saber ground, roll stamped, and as they were transitioning, that first initial batch they had sold through Smoky Mountain Knife Works as a first production run exclusive with the Ethan Becker name laser engraved into there. The first production run. This knife came with black paint and coating on it. I started stripping it off. Yeah, it ruined the collector value, but it's not going anywhere. It's staying right in my collection, and I really like the look of the kind of like a mill finish, I guess. I don't know what you'd call the finish underneath the raw steel before it's ground. I guess it's the mill finish, cold rolled finish, whatever you want to call it. I really like the look of that. Same on the BK9. A little less prevalent there, but kind of like that finish on it. But this one's neat. I really like a saber ground knife. And if you're curious, like, well, what's the difference between those two, and you're not as familiar with knives, this is a full flat grind. This is a saber grind. Both BK-16s, both exactly the same handles. Just this one's a little different with that different grind, which is kind of cool. As far as performance goes, this one honestly probably actually cuts a little bit better because of the edge geometry wise. It's a little slicey, I'll say. It's a narrower angle from the edge to the spine on this one, but I just like the look of a Saber ground knife a lot better. I just think it's super cool. That's why I bought it, and that's why it's still in the collection. Again, what ones haven't we talked about? Oh, this one here. This one is the BK62 cap art. So I believe they've done some other production runs of most of these knives, most of them, in some different steels over the years. I don't know if the BK9's ever been a different steel, but I think right now there's like a Knife Works exclusive where the BK2's in some modern powdered stainless steel. I don't know. I like the 1095 CV Grovan. It performs really, really well. Yeah, it's a little prone to rusting, but the chromium vanadium that they put in it does make it more rust resistant than just like standard, some other standard tool steel. So I like it. Again, this has been sitting. I never put any oil on this or anything, just use and patina. So it's been sitting out in the shop with the humidity, and it's a little rusty here and there, but it's kind of pretty minimal for considering how quick the axe heads and stuff like that rust up, or even just consider the hardware, right? That's parkerized, or we'll call it parkerized. I don't know. There's some kind of black oxide finish on there, and those rust up pretty quick too. But the standard steel, it's fairly resistant. If you were to take care of it, especially better than I did, it'll definitely not rust up on you. And this one here. Is again, I'm jumping all over, but it's BK62. It's the Kephart. See there on the horse Kephart. Outdoors knife. I believe it's got a 5-inch blade, walnut scales. Comes with leather sheath. It's a pretty nice sheath. Leather's not super thick, but it's still a leather sheath compared to the nylon that all the other ones come with. And it's just a really comfortable outdoors knife. I always liked the Kephart design. And this is it. It's just very classic and traditional. It doesn't have one of the standard Becker handles. It's got its own thing. I do believe they sell aftermarket micarta scales for this, but because this is kind of such a traditional, classic knife, I like leaving the walnut ones on it. I really haven't used this knife much. I just really, really liked the design of it. I just think it's so cool. Very historic. There's just a tiny bit of a swedge on there, but it doesn't taper up to a super sharp point. Very comfortable to use, though. Very comfortable to hold. My hands are like medium size. They're not super small, but not super big either. And it fits very comfortably. And if you got bigger mitts, you could probably, manage to, fit your hands on it. That is one of the complaints about some of the smaller sized Beckers. If you have really big hands, these might not be the best size for you. You might want to upgrade to the full size axes or handles. Again, I've got like medium sized hands, and if you're really scrunching up on it, you could definitely fit a bigger mitt around that. Yeah, overall, I really like the brand or the line. I do like K-Bar in general, but I really like the Becker Knives as a line within K-Bar. I'm a big fan of them. I know they've come out with more ones since I've kind of stopped collecting as much, and I'm not on the forums as much, blade forums, really at all since I've gotten on Instagram and YouTube, but yeah, this is kind of some of the stuff that sparked my interest in collecting sharper tools, and the transition that kind of naturally happened was I got the knives, some big knives, got the even bigger knife. Reading about chopping and big knife chopping and the whole logic of like, yeah, that's a great knife as a chopper, but compare it to a boy's axe, it's never going to out chop a boy's axe. And I was like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. Maybe I should get a boy's axe too. So then I bought a council tool boy's axe. And then well, if you've come here, you probably know what rabbit hole I've gone down as far as axes go. We've got a few of them. So yeah, this is my Becker knife collection. Again, as I said, I think this is all of them. I've actually got their kitchen knives too that they did the collaboration with Essie. I really like those. Those have held up very, very well to some pretty hard use and not taking care of them as you should as far as like a fine knife goes. I throw them in the dishwasher. They sit in the sink with all the other stuff, and when they get too dull, I just bring them out here and touch them up on the belt sander with a really fine grip belt, and that edge comes right back to life and it's crazy sharp again. So I really like those too. Yeah, so let me know what your favorite one of this is. One of these are. If you have one, let me know. If you've seen one that kind of piques your interest, we can definitely chat and talk about it. I want to go through and clean up some of the ones that need some love and need some more attention. So maybe I'll do some standalone videos on bringing the collection back to life, whether it's its former glory. So thanks for watching, everyone. I appreciate it. And if you're interested to see more knife stuff, my previous knife videos, I think I've had one or two. They really did not do very well, but we've got a bigger following now, so maybe they'll spread a little further. Not that really that's my biggest concern. I really just like sharing my hobbies and spending some time in the shop and bringing you guys along for it. So, yeah, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Stay tuned. Let me know if you want me to see me fix up any of these or do anything with any of them. All right, take care, everyone.